Welcome back. Today we have another group video. Offensive Player of the Year, Rookies of the Year are in today's. You've already seen the coaches' picks, the deep poi picks, the whatnot. And today we got some pretty cool graphics of all of, I think this is top 20 guys for the award of Offensive Player of the Year, which is going to be on the screen. First, Saquon Barkley, obviously the top of that. Jahmyr Gibbs at plus 1,000. Jamar Chase as well. We all made, I think me and Nick had 2 picks. You had 1 pick, but you said you can name 4 if we really wanted to rattle off. We each have 2 guys. Let's talk through our guys. If they're even past these odds, we can look into them. But I think everyone's around this area. Nick, you want to start with some of the guys you picked and your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I'm curious what you guys think of Lamar being the only quarterback on here. Do you think that just means they expect another Josh Allen MVP? Meaning Lamar's the next guy up that will be really great, but only be in contention for OPOY. Thoughts, comments, concerns, questions?
There was, when I was looking at the odds.
I think I just cooked you.
When I was looking at the odds, it was like past Achane at like the 5,000, 4,500 range. It was all quarterbacks, like Kyler Murray. There was like Tua. There was like whoever. All were in those ranges. It was like all those like fringe, like exciting players that could maybe win it. So I'm intrigued to see if it's just maybe quarterbacks are just naturally lower on the list because they're more likely to win MVP, or if, like you said, Lamar's just that high to. When was the last time someone won MVP and OPOY? Can you do that even?
Both of them?
Yeah.
I don't think. Maybe Mahomes 20 through 50.
That's what I thought.
Really?
I couldn't remember though.
I feel like they never do that. Either way, all right. So my favorite picks. The ones that I sent to you were Puka at 16-1 and Nico at 18-1. I do think the player that likely has like the clearest path to it, although I'm probably not going to bet on him, is Bijan. When you look at second half of the year, especially his games with Penix, he was averaging 25-plus touches per game. You know, like so involved in that offense to the point where like any game-breaking running back over the last decade has put up those types of numbers. So I think Bijan has a really clear path to it. But I go Puka, I go Nico. I mean, I think Puka at 16-1 having the same odds as Justin Jefferson kind of tells you where Vegas looks at him. And when I think about Puka, all he has done since he stepped foot in the NFL, when he's healthy, is produce like an elite level wide receiver. And I would go as far as saying I feel pretty confident that Puka, just by himself, is probably a better isolated receiver than Cooper Kupp really ever was. If you look at Cooper Kupp for the first 3-4 years of his career, he was just he was Robert Woods, just copy and paste. They did the same thing in that offense for years on end, and then Cooper Kupp secured this role in Sean McVay's offense, became an elite zone beater, and that's what he needed to be in that offense, and then became the best player of all time, and then has kind of fallen off due to injuries. But I think Cooper Kupp was a player that became good but not great, and I think Puka has the chance to legit. I mean, he's already outdone anything Cooper Kupp did in the first couple of years of his career. And now I think there's a chance that Puka plays the Cooper Kupp role from 2021, and I think Puka could be a guy who, he's through 2 years of his career, he's already averaged that 10, 11, 12 targets per game that Cooper Kupp had during the 2021 season. And I think a lot of the reason that Puka hasn't been looked at outside of the injuries in that like production year of Jamar Chase or whatnot is because his touchdown numbers have been low. But that was also the case for Cooper Kupp the first couple of years. It was like 5 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns, whatever. And then all of a sudden it was like 11, 16, whatever. Would anybody be surprised if Puka, if he's going to get 160, 170 targets, randomly has 11, 12, 13, 14 touchdowns? No one's going to be surprised at that. I just think you're in Sean McVay's offense, who has produced an unbelievable like type of season out of Cooper Kupp. I think Puka has that role. I think he's going to average 10 to 12 targets per game. I know Adams is there, but I'm not like overly concerned because I think Puka plays that like shift motion, the get him open in space by any means necessary role, whereas like Adams is probably going to be the guy outside that takes the really tough coverage away. So I just think Puka is a really good bet to see 160 plus targets, and if touchdown luck breaks right, he's going to have a monster season. With Nico, I think he's also just one of the best isolated wide receivers in the league. Dealt with some injuries last year, but even when he got back, he had a couple like ridiculously long touchdowns like called back, and things just didn't break right. So if CJ Stroud has a bounce back this year, I think Nico's a guy who could possibly lead the NFL in targets, and he's just good all over the field, whether it's down in the red zone, whether it's just down the field in general, whether it's between the sticks, whatever. I think he's as talented as any receiver in the NFL at this point. So I like to sprinkle on him a little bit with that value.
Very convincing.
I was going to say, that was a whole YouTube video on
Puka was very convincing.
Puka is just going to be, I mean, realistically, you know, I don't think it's projecting outside of like, he really has done nothing, but every single time he steps on the field, he's 11 targets, 100 yards. Yeah. Doesn't score a touchdown every game, but like he's as good as anybody that's been playing. And I think McVay has like figured out where he wants to use Puka now.
Sprinkle a little Stafford MVP while we talk about it.
I don't know about all that, but
I mean, if he's gonna win OPOY, I feel like Stafford has to have.
When Cup popped off, Stafford was like 5th in MVP voting.
Makes sense.
Little sprinkle, can't be too mad. I'd really like the Nico Collins idea too. I was very much on the Nico train as well. I obviously took in the last video Will Anderson, so I'm big on the Texans in general going into this year. But if there's going to be anybody that elevates this Texans team in a bad division, I think it's going to have to be Nico. And to get him at 18 to 1 odds feels great, considering he's behind some of these. The fact that he's behind Puka is honestly surprising to me, just because of how dominant he was to start last season. Before
last year was crazy.
That's what I mean. It's like his start was crazy. When he got back, it like kind of was, but things didn't break right for him.
Yeah,
I think that full season, he was gonna be the GOAT.
And if the team was just better last season, I think we would have looked at it a little bit different. Like he would have games with 3 touchdowns with 200 yards. It was like insane, and we just like took it for granted. Where this year, if he's able to stay healthy, now that's the one thing looking back at Nico's career, he's yet to have a full season. So the whole key is if he stays healthy, I think he'll end up being a top 5 for this, no doubt. It's just a matter of if he can really put it over the top, and I think he can. I think CJ's gonna have a great year.
And I like the receivers that they added. They're like good enough that they'll take pressure off Nico, but not good enough to produce like Diggs was last year, or Tank Dell might have been last year. So I kind of like the addition.
You were not too fearful of it, but like Devontae still kind of scares me off of Puka a little bit.
That makes sense.
He's that good to like.
That's why like
his
these bets when you're doing the preseason bets, it's hard to have like a direct player take and more of like this is almost like a system approach where it's like, you know, I'm not betting that Puka's going to have 14 touchdowns, but if touchdown luck breaks right, based on the number of targets he gets year in and year out, he should be in the 10 to 12 range for sure. Yeah. But, you know, Devontae could finish with 12 or 13 and Puka could still be at 6 or 7. But I'd like to take the chance on Puka here. So it's not like a direct bet, but more of like a holistic approach.
Yeah. Staying with wide receivers, my favorite pick was Tyreek Hill at 30 to 1.
You like Tyreek?
I love Tyreek, especially now Jonnu's gone.
I thought about it.
Like Jonnu's now gone. You're getting him at fantastic value. What truly has changed with Tyreek Hill outside of like if Tua has a good season and Tua's back and healthy and fully good to go, what is stopping him realistically from winning this award once again?
It's kind of crazy. Actually, he didn't. It's crazy he hasn't won it yet. No, he had back-to-back 1,700 yards.
But
nothing.
That run from like KC into Miami, those like 3-4 year span, arguably like one of the best half decades of receiver play ever in the NFL.
What's stopping him from getting back into that conversation, into that threshold for 30 to 1 odds? It feels like that's insane to be getting him.
I'll tell you my like not anti Tyreek necessarily, but like why I think this offense is statistically capped here. You know, I've talked about this in my fantasy videos a lot. It's just the amount of, and Tyreek Hill came out at Fanatics Fest, and he was like, the Bills are a bunch of bitches because they only play like cover 4 against us. Yeah. The whole NFL does that against them now, and that's why they're not good on offense anymore. That's what he said on stage.
Fucking pussy.
Right? I'm like, it works so well against you guys. Why would Tua? So Tua's average depth of target, 2022, 10.1, 2023, 8.3, 2024 last year, 6.2. They have not been able to develop a downfield game anymore. It's one of the reasons that Patrick Mahomes has kind of been struggling throwing it downfield as well, because defense have just played over the top, and they're like, we'll let you beat us underneath. And if Tyreek Hill, and that's the reason why Jalen Waddle has kind of struggled, because he's like not their go-to make a play at the line of scrimmage guy anymore. It is more Tyreek, Achane, no longer Johnny Smith. But like that's my question, or that's my concern, is if teams again just sell out to play cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, I don't really project a lot of like upside that Tyreek Hill had in previous years.
Yeah. I understand the concern, and I understand, but I don't know. I just believe that Tyreek is that good of a wide receiver, and I think McDaniels can see that. Obviously, if they're going to be capped, they're going to try to find creative ways to get him the rock. And if anybody can just break through and have an elite season no matter what, I feel like it's him. As long as Tua stays like healthy, that's my biggest thing.
Yeah.
I think this offense can figure it out, and I still believe in them to get the job done, especially with Achane being such a wide receiver threat. I think that can kind of help Tyreek free him up a little bit from having to pull guys up to the line of scrimmage.
So question. I do say like the way that this works is like if Mike McDaniel can kind of come in and like reinvent the offense again, which I don't think is far-fetched considering like how dynamite he was when he came into the league. But like, why do you think once Tua was back last year, Tua and Tyreek were both there, like that they were kind of shitty still at the end. Like,
100%.
What do you attribute that to?
I think one of it's kind of the concern that they had. Like, I don't think the offense was the same when Tua came back. I think they constructed the offense differently for weeks with him out, that with him coming back, they didn't just go right back to a normal set of offensive plays. Like, you can't just kind of reset on the season, mid-season. So I think they kind of were stuck in this, like, Tyler Huntley offense that was created for a bit. And then when he came back, it was like just kind of some mishmash of what they could put together in those final weeks. Where if you get a full offseason to really cook with your team and to kind of construct like this is going to work with this guy, this is what we saw last year in this coverage, I think you just have way more time to kind of figure out what is going to make guys thrive. And with the acceleration that Achane's been on, I think that's going to only help free up other guys because teams are going to obviously see him on film now of, hey, he's a wide receiver, he's a wide receiver, he's a wide receiver, because that's really what he was last year at running back, to where that's going to help him line of scrimmage. Waddle, as long as he stays healthy, should be obviously great. Them not having Jonnu honestly might hurt a little bit with that being such a threat and him being so good. But all in all, I think if anybody can get it done, it's going to be Tyreek. Like, he can get it at the line of scrimmage and take it 70 yards.
Do you think there's any concern of like his lack of buy-in? It feels like in the football and the Dolphins. Like, it feels like
vibes are terrible.
If the Dolphins hit like a little bit of a skid, all of a sudden he's gonna have another interview of just complaining, and it's just like, yeah. I'm not saying he's got to be in sync with his team and quarterback to be a great player, but to like be the best player in the league and win Offensive Player of the Year, it's like all things got to break right, and it's just
fair enough.
However, you are getting a discount because he's just as good as Puka, Jed, as Jamar. Like, he's still a top 5 guy in the league, and you're getting him for twice as much money. So it's worth the gamble. I mean,
on-field concern, like speed, catching, whatever, is definitely not my concern. It's more of just like the structure and also like just him as a person right now. I don't know where his fucking brain is at. He's always doing weird shit off the field now.
Shout out Boding. All right, J-Mo.
Yeah, my pick is staying with the same team, which is pretty
I love the Dolphins.
Vibes in Miami.
We got 2 offensive player of the years, so your MVP.
We're gonna watch one game of Tua and then like we should have.
Your MVPs of
one
Tua
primetime Tua game. He's gonna shit the bed. I'm like, what was I thinking? Achane, I just think is an extremely efficient rusher. Like when he came to the league, he was averaging like 6 yards a carry, and then last year we saw he has the receiving potential. My biggest concern about Achane is if the Dolphins are actually good, if they can run the ball, because they couldn't last year. But I think he, out of every running back in the league, has the best potential to go for like 1,000 and 1,000, both on the ground and through the air. I'm not saying that he's gonna do it, but if things broke a little bit more right last year, he could have. And I think if he does put up those type of numbers, like that's a pretty good formula to win Offensive Player of the Year. Last one to do it was CMC. When he did it, he won Offensive Player of the Year, I believe. Actually, it might have been Michael Thomas in 2019. But either way, just the fact that he's such a dual threat, both rushing and receiving, is a big hitter for him. And with Jonnu leaving, I think the value you're getting for him is insane. Like 40-1 on that type of player that hasn't even been given a workhorse role. I'm in. Year one, He showed he had the efficiencies, just like Mostert was still there as a 1,000-yard rusher. And then last year, like the Dolphins' offense just wasn't it. If they could be in sync, Achane's going to be a beast.
Are you worried that he's not going to be able to get a workhorse role because of his size?
Yeah.
He's 192 pounds.
It's been a concern, but like he's still 200 carries last year. It's like I don't expect him to take too much more. He's not going to be like a Saquon where he gets 350. He's not even going to probably touch 300. But I don't think he needs a 300 carry season because of his efficiency, because of his speed.
It would just be Marshall
if
Faulk.
they're good. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine how many targets he's going to get with no Jonnu Smith anymore. The O-line is definitely a concern. I think that's why the efficiency dipped so much for them on the ground. But they don't really have much behind. Like Jalen Wright, I don't think he's a great running back. They drafted Ollie Gordon, so they don't really have a complement. I just imagine their run game is probably, again, give me an extension of just like short passes.
If you were to go with, obviously yours is a 40-1 odds. If you were to go with the safest pick on the board, what do you think?
I like Bijan a lot.
We're all
Nick
on the
touched on it
Bijan.
earlier. Like, I don't think Saquon's going to win it again. Gibbs,
I think he moved down to 13-1.
either way, Ragnow not being there scares me. And I still think Monty's going to take enough to where it's like if Monty has a 10 touchdowns next to Gibbs, even if Gibbs does go off for 1,400 yards again, it's like still going to be a case against him. And then
Yeah, I don't know if Gibbs has OPOY numbers in his bag.
And to be honest, Jamar, like he won the triple crown and didn't win. Like what? Like what?
What else you want him to do?
Yes. Even though that's a
But I
stupid
almost feel like that could be a reason why they give it to him.
Yeah,
this
it's
year,
like
though.
all right.
If he has like a semi-similar
makeup
year.
call.
Yeah, like I think Chase and Bijan make the most sense.
All right.
And they're pretty good odds for being 10 and 12 to
I
1.
do think Derrick Henry's a good pick too. Like if he could throw up 20 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb.
I didn't realize how many yards Derrick Henry ran for last year.
1,900.
No.
Dude,
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they're like, "Yeah, Derrick Henry ran for 2,000 yards." I had to check the date. I was like, "Is this 2020
No,
podcast
dude,
I'm
he
listening
was
to?"
so
Yeah, I didn't realize
good.
he racked up that many fucking yards.
Yeah.
Holy hell!
Jefferson, I don't think I would bet on.
He joins Earl Campbell, the only players who run for 1,900 yards, right?
Yeah. The only ones.
Him and Earl. Big
What about Sean
Earl.
Alexander?
Okay, let's go to
18.
AP Rookie of the Year. Offensive. Obviously, Genty and Cam Ward leading the way. Travis Hunter at a bait of plus 600. Then we got some other fun guys down there. Nicholas, who'd you end up picking? Where'd you go? Obviously, you're, I feel like, probably the most in the rookie loop as of
Yeah.
still current.
I'm gonna need some help when we get to defense.
My notes aren't loading, but my thoughts are, dude. Honestly, obviously, it like points to Genty and Cam Ward being heavy favorites. Makes a lot of sense, but I mean, we've got a lot of firepower. Like we have,
Oh, yeah.
we have 3 first-round receivers, 2 first-round tight ends, a shitload of day 1 or 2 running back picks. Obviously, the quarterback situation is not super heavy, but I will say, like, Genty, if I'm putting money on a player, it's going to be Genty for sure. His touch floor just feels so incredibly safe. But I did look back over the since 2010, and I looked at running backs drafted in the top 10, and only 2 of them. There was I think a sample size of maybe 9. 8 running backs drafted top 10 since 2010. Only 2 of them have won Offensive Rookie of the Year. So Bijan's rookie year, Stroud won. Saquon won it the year that Leonard Fournette and C-Mac were rookies. Kamara won it when Zeke was there. Dak won it. Todd Gurley, he won it. Trent Richardson, top 3 pick. RG3 won it. And then CJ Spiller, Percy Harvin won it. So it's easy to go into the year and say, like, the floor is very high for a guy like Genty, but historically it hasn't always worked out that way. Typically a quarterback kind of breaks out, and I think this is like a weaker quarterback class to rely on that happening, which is what makes me feel a little bit more optimistic about Genty.
If you're talking a touch floor,
What the hell?
I feel like you got to love guys like Caleb and Quinshawn and Omarion then, too.
I was thinking Omarion.
Like Omarion's, I feel like
But
Omarion
Najee
has to
kinda
break out.
scared me.
Najee scares me, and he has to have a breakout second half of the season.
Yeah.
Like he has to have that pull away from Najee to where it's like, all right, he's clearly the better.
Like
back.
Najee might stop him from getting like 1,000 yards, or like an insane workload this year. I don't know enough of like Jim Harbaugh's offense or Greg Roman's, but feels like Najee's gonna be annoying still.
No, I agree. And they're going to have a 3 running back carousel. I promise you it's not just going to be 2 guys.
Hassan-
They're going to bring in Hassan
Is he
Haskins
still
at the
there?
goal line for no reason. And he's going to have 3 touchdowns that should go to one or the other. That's what they do. So I think Omarion's a pretty good value. My favorite value, if we're talking just value, is on the Chargers, but it's Trey Harris.
Really?
50-1 value odds. Looking good in camp so far. He's running with the ones from all the articles that I read over the past few days.
Is the ones like Lad, Trey, like is QJ in that?
Like in and out.
I
From
think
what I'm
Trey will
understanding.
probably start as the 2, and
Yeah.
then QJ will probably play.
And I understand it's going to be a run-heavy offense, but like I said before with Coach of the Year stuff, if this Chargers team finds a way to win this division and Trey Harris has over 1,000 yards, whatever it is, ends up having almost like a Lad rookie season, like there's no thought in my mind that doesn't say he couldn't compete for at least a top 3 spot in this award. And for him to get such good value out of it, I feel like we can definitely place a pick and feel confident about him going in. I love Trey Harris as a prospect. I think he's a very, very, very good receiver.
He's behind Will Howard.
It's insane.
The
it's
Steelers
insane.
literally have MVP.
But okay, okay. But I think Trey Harris is very good value for being a top end wide receiver. I'm going the same route with also Ted McMillan, obviously homer pick there. But Ted's a wide receiver 1 in an offense coming in right away that was very fun to watch at the end of last season. If they can continue to kind of do what they did at the end of last season and then just slide him in as the wide receiver 1 there, and he can take a lot of that production and provide wide receiver 1 statistics, I feel like he's a very, very good case. And again, the Panthers could be a team that, hey, slides into the playoffs. Everyone's kind of amped up. They did something, and he could be the reason for it and get a lot of that credit, which would kind of give him that more narrative piece to the offensive rookie of the year.
What about a Mecca? I was thinking him.
Dude, I was doing a write up on him for like a fantasy video, and he's one of those dudes that I feel like I don't know how he's gonna get there, but I know by the end of the year he's gonna be really, really good. Yeah, it feels like the comparison I made was basically Emeka Egbuka is like if you're playing poker and your pocket hands are like Jack 10 suited, and then the flop is Jack 10 hearts. The flop is like King of Hearts, 9 of Hearts, a 10 of Spades. So it's like a 10 by itself.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a great power hand, but you have so many outs for you to have a great hand. And that's kind of where I feel Egbuka is, where it's like, the floor of the passing offense is going to be great. Evans is, obviously getting older, fucking verbatim every year. Godwin coming back from another serious lower leg injury. Like if one of those guys is out, I think Egbuka just steps in and becomes kind of like a powerhouse in that NFC South. So I like Egbuka a lot too.
Of course. Yo,
who's
Amo?
Was that your pick?
Genty. If I'm putting money on it, it'd be Genty. But like Caleb Johnson and Emeka Egbuka were my two probably like lower value.
I like
picks.
Caleb a lot too. Again, floor there. Now they have another tight end.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing? Being a lot of big tight end personnel with no wide receiver 2 over there. Jalen, talk me through your QB pick.
Yeah,
this is exciting.
I picked Tyler Shuck because I feel like there's value. There is just such a bias towards quarterbacks in Rookie of the Year. And I think the Saints are going to be bad, but Kellen Moore is like quarterback friendly. Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott. Those are like 3 proven guys, and now I'm picking Tyler Shuck. But like, they believe in this guy to start their offense, run their offense. Like, they drafted second-round draft capital in him. Just tell me I get a starting rookie quarterback in a quarterback-friendly offense. Their O-line's better. I think there's good value here just because of the biasness at quarterback in a weak division. Again, I don't like the Saints, but it feels like there's a world where they could be like a shitty, sneaky team. if Tyler,
I don't hate it. I mean, he's like this year's like Bo Nix a little bit, where everyone's like, he's not good, and then all of a sudden by the end of the year, it's just a battle between him and Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, like quarterbacks just get such an advantage in Rookie of the Year that.
Is that true though? I feel like I was looking back and I was surprised that it wasn't as quarterback heavy as it was.
I mean, like last year, Brock Bowers had like the greatest tight end season ever for a rookie. Not that Jaden didn't deserve it. Or the year before, like Puka deserved Rookie of the Year, and it went to Stroud.
Fair.
Dak,
but I mean, like those,
like
those
the tiebreakers will go to quarterbacks.
But yeah, I mean,
he's of those levels.
I think one of the things with most quarterbacks, you either have to have like an insane statistical year, like a Cam Newton type of rookie year, or like those quarterbacks so far surpassed their team expectations. Whereas like Jaden, they went in as like a 4.5 win total. Playoffs. CJ Stroud, probably 4.5 win total playoffs. Like Dak, I think his rookie year.
Kellen Moore is going to lead them to
third. Yeah, that's the thing. Like if you think the Saints can really far outperform it, then he's a really good value on the board. If you're a Saints guy,
I think I could.
I feel like we should be getting his value at like Will Howard level, but it's
to be honest,
to 1.
No.
I agree. Like
Shuck is
value,
gonna
I feel like I'm still not.
He's gonna get. Yeah, it's not great value honestly, but he is gonna. He'll start. I wouldn't be surprised if they started Rattler honestly week 1.
Stop.
No, I mean it's a real quarterback battle.
They drafted a second.
Hey, by the time
So what?
So by the time this video goes up, I can have a screenshot of you placing it.
Yeah.
No, BetMGM.
I'll put it in.
Again, make sure you're betting on BetMGM when you're taking these odds. That's where all these odds are from. You get the best odds when you use code BETS, BETS, when you sign up for the very first time and deposit $10 or more dollars.
1,500 bonus bets back, right?
1,500
so
bonus
even
bets
if
back.
you spend it all on Shuck and you brick that, you'll get that shit back.
Exactly. You'll get even more back when you do Defensive Rookie of the Year odds as well. J-Mo's big into defensive rookies, so I think this is going to be exciting talks here. We have them all written down. Shout out Nick Scorton, who's an edge, but he's listed as a linebacker due to our very interesting 3-4 defense. With that being said, Abdul Carter's leading the pack. Travis Hunter at plus 750 right behind him. Jalen Walker.
Did the Ravens
Jalen
cook
Walker?
in the draft for them to have 2 guys up there?
Mike Green was the off the field guy. He was supposed to be like a top 20 pick. Off
Yeah.
the field, dropped to the end of the second. Now he's probably going to be like the GOAT.
And
Didn't the
Malachi
Chiefs
Starks
get that
was-
in O-line? Like
Yeah.
Josh Simmons or something?
He was
he
not
was
off the field.
injured.
He was concerned. Yeah, injury concerns.
But Malachi Starks is the best safety in the draft, and he just fell because he's a safety.
Like safeties don't win.
No, they don't win it.
awards,
But
yeah.
the one thing was interesting when I was looking into this, like, if there's a safety that could win it, it's going to be one of the best defenses in the league, and I think Baltimore would be that.
And they
He's
just
going to
lost-
get.
they lost one of
is
their guys, so he's
insane.
going to have to play every down.
He's going to be a very heavy contributor to this defense, and I think he's very good to do so. But again, most of the time it's an edge reward.
Is
unless
Mike
the
Green
corner-
an edge and just listed as
Yeah.
linebacker?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how a lot of these.
Their
like,
defense could actually be the best.
it's going to be very good.
Like
It's
it
going
should
to
be the best.
It's going to be them and Denver, then like the Panthers. Anyway, Jalen Walker plus 900 is a very interesting value. Me and Nick both agreed Mykel Williams at plus 1,000 is very good value. Obviously going into a
Really?
Niners defense.
I don't know.
I think he's the most polished defensive end that is coming out of this draft, as he was a primary defensive end his entire career. Guys like Jalen Walker and even Mike Green played around at linebacker before. They weren't true defensive ends their entire career, where Mykel Williams is coming out of Georgia as one of the best defensive ends and was the most polished, big, size, long, length. Everything you pretty much want. He's got it going into a Niners defense on the opposite side of Bosa. You feel really good about that. I think he's going to have a lot of one-on-one opportunities and could easily come away with a very good-looking statistical season to win this award.
Yeah,
Shamar Stewart's still out.
I don't think he's at. Yeah, I don't think he's
Crazy.
playing yet. I went with Mykel Williams. I went with 2 players. Mykel Williams, my first guy. I'm looking at the class and I'm like, there's 5 like pure edges basically in the first round, so I'm like gonna lean that way for sure. And I think Mykel Williams might be as good of a just like a pure pass rusher as anybody in the class. Abdul Carter, I don't love the odds. I guess
Right?
I'm guessing I'm
That's
like
too much.
Yeah, with how good their personnel is on the defensive front, I do wonder if they just like keep a really heavy rotation just to keep everybody fresh. And I don't know, does Carter play 95% of the snaps, or is he a rookie at like 70, 75%? I think if that's the case, that becomes a little tricky. Like you said with Bosa, like you get less pressure on a Mykel Williams if he's there. I could see him kind of backing his way into like 8 sacks if he's any good. And then I took Schlesinger down by plus 30 to 1 odds, linebacker out of in Cleveland there. I'm not going to pretend like I know a ton about him or why I love him, but I will say if a linebacker is going to win it, I think they have to probably come close to like leading the NFL in tackles.
Yeah.
And I think on the Browns defense, with how bad their offense probably will be, I think he'll have a lot of opportunity to soak up a shitload of tackles, and I could kind of see him getting there based on that. But yeah, I don't know that I feel confident enough to like tell you to tail a Browns defensive player outside of Myles Garrett for
The
anything.
one player that I was really in on, and is probably my favorite with the value, is 22 to 1 Jahdae Barron. I think going into one of the best defenses in all of the NFL, the best last year, has the DPOY from last year, going in as a nickel corner out of Texas, was very exciting at Texas, had a lot of flashy interceptions at Texas. We watched the pick six in person at the Georgia game. He's going to be, I think, a very, very heavy contributor on this team, and is going to have a lot of opportunities to make a lot of plays. Obviously, Riley Moss is going to be on the other side, probably as the CB2. He's going to be more of like a nickel kind of floating type of guy. Maybe he goes outside a few times. But Barron is a guy that I think is going to be a ball hawk, and if he comes away with a very good statistical season in one of the best defenses in the entire league, I could see him having some really good value here. As again, he's another exciting, fun player to watch when he's on the field. So I could see him getting some Defensive Rookie of the Year nods as well if the Denver defense is as good as it was last year.
I took another corner.
Go ahead.
Took Travis Hunter.
Cook.
I think there's just so much glaze around him. Like, they want him to win it. And being in the division where, like, you're facing Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones or Cam Ward twice, if he gets, like, 3 cool interceptions, that'll be a highlight reel people just play over and over again. And I know it's either he wins offensive rookie year or defensive rookie of the year.
Why not both?
But like, if he has just like a little bit of fun juice on offense, but not enough to win it, it'll still be in people's head to where he'll get the vote defensively. Like if he's close in that race, people will like give him the edge because of that. Even though it's supposed to be separated, it's still going to be a factor. Like you can't separate it from the person. And I just think he is a great corner, and the bias and want for him to win is already there.
And if you want some fun odds, you can get Travis Hunter on BetMGM for +8 or from 80 to 1 odds to win both.
My only like
Offensive and defensive.
my only concern, that value feels, without knowing what he's going to do at cornerback or how much he's going to play, that value feels like too low.
Fair.
Yeah.
Like let's say we go into the summer and they're like, oh, Hunter's been playing 80% of snaps at cornerback throughout the summer and only 20% at wide receiver. Like how much higher can those odds actually go? Like is he 4-1 and Abdul Karim was back to 4-1? I guess I'm like, I don't know how Vegas sees it right now.
Yeah,
based
I
on
just
that
think
value.
It's a lock right now. Regardless of the value, if it's a lock, it's a lock.
If Schlesinger gets hurt, then I get it.
If it's a lock, it's a lock. I mean,
Yeah,
then you kind of
value doesn't matter.
that clip of I gotta stop gambling, man. But if it's a lock, I mean, it's a lock. All right. Again, make sure to use code BETS, BETS. So when you sign up on BetMGM, it's where you're gonna get all these odds, and you can see when we place them ourselves. Again, like, subscribe, all to the fun shit down below. And we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.
How you down?